Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. I'm SocietySucks and today I'm checking out Cleopatra's brutal rise to power by night shift Kurzgesagt after dark. The only things I really know is that Caesar, Julius Caesar, helped her get her throne. I think she killed her brother, maybe, or had him killed? I don't know. We'll just have to see.
Soldiers drag a dark-haired girl past the jeering faces at the Roman Forum. Disheveled and trembling, she bows her face in humiliation. The mob is used to cruel spectacles, but an Egyptian queen in shackles is a rare sight. Along the route of Caesar's triumph, people climb statues and rooftops to see the notorious prisoners paraded towards execution. A whisper spreads through the crowds. Is this Cleopatra? But she is not in chains. She's the one who ordered the execution of her sister, Arsinoe.
Oh.
Cleopatra sheds no tears for her rebellious little sister. One more enemy off her list.
Brutal.
Traitors from birth. 5 years earlier, 18-year-old Cleopatra ascends the throne alongside her 10-year-old brother Ptolemy. The Ptolemaic dynasty has ruled Alexandria for 300 years, and like the ancient pharaohs, they marry within their own family to keep power in the bloodline. Beyond their
incest.
palace, the Nile feeds fertile lands that have produced grain surpluses for centuries. Their main buyer is Rome, but powerful generals like Julius Caesar begin to see Egypt as a province in waiting rather than as a partner.
It was inevitable.
Cleopatra stayed in charge by appeasing Rome, supplying ships and borrowing heavily from Roman creditors up to half of Egypt's annual revenue to fund the bribes that keep them in control. On top of that, weak Nile floods have battered an already tribute-drained economy, pushing tensions among the people to a breaking point. And the royal couple needs to handle their siblings as well. A teenage sister Arsinoe and an 8-year-old brother, both looming threats in the game of succession. Co-ruler Ptolemy craves the spotlight, propped up by older men who try to pull Cleopatra's strings as well. She refuses to shrink. For almost 2 years, she holds ceremonies on her own, signs decrees without her brother's name, and orders coins with her face alone. In council chambers, Ptolemy's advisors whisper that the girl has forgotten her place.
Yeah, they're going to
resentment in the
put them against each other.
When Rome demands grain and ships again, Cleopatra complies. She knows Egypt cannot afford to defy its creditors. But for Alexandrians wary of Rome's influence, it's one concession too many. Ptolemy's advisors turn the outrage against the queen and seize the chance to get rid of her. In the summer of 49 BCE, guards force her out of the city she rules and erase her name from the official records. She leaves in fury, already plotting her return.
Wait, they let her leave? If they were really that concerned with her, why didn't they just kill her? That doesn't make any sense. Why would you not remove her permanently? Why take the risk of letting her stay alive? That's just dumb.
Cleopatra uses her remaining resources to recruit mercenaries.
Yeah,
Within a year, she's ready to march on her brother with an army. Then news cuts through her camp. Julius Caesar has arrived in Alexandria to collect the outstanding debt. He needs money to pay his troops. Cleopatra understands that reaching Caesar quickly may turn her luck. Night falls. Leaving her troops behind, she sails towards the royal district. If Ptolemy's guards catch her, she's finished, and if Caesar refuses her, she's irrelevant. So she smuggles herself into his room in a linen sack. Before sunrise, she has his ear. Caesar announces that Cleopatra and her brother will rule jointly. For him, a civil war between siblings means chaos in Egypt.
That's true.
And hunger in Rome.
Chaos in Egypt basically just reduces your food. So yeah, obviously Rome can't have that. I wonder how much of that is actually true, the way she smuggled herself into Caesar's room, and how much of that is just fanciful storytelling.
But by imposing an unpopular queen over their favored king, he ignites Alexandria. Now, Cleopatra finds herself trapped beside Caesar in the palace with militias and her brother's army at the gates. Her sister Arsinoe is watching. She has spent her life in Cleopatra's shadow. Now, she sees an opening. She slips out of the palace and finds her brother's general. She steps forward as a new alternative, a queen untouched by Rome. Soldiers roar her name, and with the army at her back, she drives the siege for 4 months. Cleopatra feels the walls closing in. If Caesar falls, she falls with him.
That's true.
At last, Roman reinforcements break through from the east and the city surrenders. Ptolemy tries to flee across the Nile but drowns, while Arsinoe is captured. Cleopatra rules again beside her youngest brother, another Ptolemy, a boy of 13. Without
13!
advisors at his side, he's no threat to Cleopatra for now.
For now.
When Caesar departs for Syria, he takes Arsinoe as a prisoner, leaving Cleopatra with 3 Roman legions to keep the peace and a newborn son. Little Caesarion becomes her strongest card to legitimize her alliance with Rome. And with her rival siblings silenced, dead or in chains, she finally stands as the undisputed queen.
Yeah, things didn't go too well for Cleopatra in the end.
The frenemy. But her alliance
She's the
with
queen
Caesar
right now,
isn't
but
the shortcut to power in Rome
not
she
for
hoped
long.
for. When she visits him with their son, the welcome is cold. Caesar's enemies say that she's pulling him towards monarchy and away from Roman values. And, at his triumph, instead of executing her sister Arsinoe as promised, he yields to the crowd's pleas and spares her, sending her into exile. Cleopatra starts resenting Rome, but neither of them see what's coming next. On March the 15th, 44 BCE, Caesar is assassinated. Now, everything rests on their son. If he is named heir, her alliance with Rome survives. If not, she's alone in hostile territory.
He won't be
When the will is
the
read,
next ruler of Rome.
Caesarion's name is nowhere to be found. Yet another betrayal. With clenched teeth, she sails back to Alexandria and secures her rule first. She executes her remaining teenage brother, replacing him with the 3-year-old Caesarion. But the threat from Rome doesn't go away. By 42 BCE, the Republic fractures between 2 men who are co-rulers on paper and rivals in everything else. Caesar's great-nephew, Octavian, takes the west,
and Mark
Caesar's
Antony,
favorite
right?
general, Mark Antony,
Yeah.
takes the east. Antony now controls Egypt's fate, which makes him Cleopatra's enemy, and possibly her solution. Mark Antony is a full-blown Roman hunk, broad, bearded, and claims
I'm not gonna
Hercules
spoil
as his
anything.
ancestor. Recently married, he still has a reputation as a womanizer. In 41 BCE, he summons Cleopatra to secure resources for his next military campaign. If Antony assumes he'll control the encounter, he's mistaken. Cleopatra arrives on a gilded ship with purple sails, a living vision of the goddess Isis. She keeps him waiting, declines his dinner invitation, and instead welcomes him on her own ship. Caesar may have restored her throne, but with him dead, she must win Roman backing again. By morning, the outlines of their alliance are in place, and a power couple emerges. Her first request is personal. Arsinoe must finally die. She's risen as a rival queen before, and Cleopatra won't let it happen again. Antony's men storm the Temple of Artemis, where Arsinoe lives under Roman protection, drag her from her sanctuary, and execute her. Satisfied, Cleopatra opens Egypt's treasury and sends fleets to fund Antony's eastern campaigns. And when she asks for territory,
fuck it, I'm
he
spoiling
grants her
it.
vast
Antony
stretches
fails,
of the
and so does
eastern
Cleopatra.
Mediterranean. She gives birth to their twins, sealing their alliance with a bloodline. Cleopatra is already thinking beyond Egypt, towards a dynasty that could unite her world with Rome.
Not gonna
forever.
happen.
Antony, too, is riding high. He launches an invasion of the Parthian Empire sprawling across what's now Iran, the one enemy Rome has never conquered. It's meant to be his defining triumph. Instead, it becomes a catastrophe. He loses a quarter of his army and limps back to Syria for the winter with his remaining sick and unpaid soldiers.
Why the hell would you go east when the west has not been dealt with?
He turns
Idiot.
to Cleopatra for help. But she calculates if he's still worth the risk. His rival co-ruler Octavian is far more successful in the west, mounting his victories by the month. When she finally joins Antony a few months later, Cleopatra brings warm clothes and food, but not the silver to pay his troops. She's hedging her bets. Antony can still win his war, But if he doesn't, she can't go down with him. Next year, Antony strikes east again and takes Armenia. Flushed with victory, he decides to display his power and his devotion to Cleopatra with a grand ceremony in Alexandria. He crowns her queen of kings and grants their children rule over Roman territories and proclaims Caesarion, the
as
true
if he had
son
any
and
right
heir
to
of
do so.
Julius Caesar, the king of kings. For Cleopatra, it's the strongest Roman endorsement she's ever secured. But it's only empty words unless Antony defeats Octavian.
Which he
And
will
now
not.
He's made open war between them inevitable. The cold-blooded equal. Octavian, like Cleopatra, understands that image is everything. He paints himself as the son of Apollo, the voice of youth and reason, against the impulsive Antony, who he absolutely loathes. The wife Antony abandoned for Cleopatra was Octavian's own sister, whom he had married to secure an alliance. And Antony's public recognition of Caesarion as Caesar's true son was an even deeper insult, a personal threat to his power and status as Caesar's great-nephew and adopted son, officially his closest living kin. Octavian's
Caesarion will
smear
need to
campaign
die.
against Antony writes itself, weakened and bewitched by an Eastern queen. It's the same old slander again, and Octavian knows how to exploit it.
Damn
In
right he
32
does.
BCE, Octavian unleashes a propaganda assault. He seizes Antony's will and has its most scandalous part read before the Senate. Antony wishes to be buried in Alexandria, beside
How
Cleopatra.
dare he?
One of Rome's greatest generals has given his afterlife to an Eastern queen. But Rome can't afford another civil war, so Octavian plays this very smartly. He declares war on Cleopatra instead of Antony. This recasts their internal struggle as a campaign against a foreign queen. If Octavian wins, he can destroy two enemies at once. When war is declared, Cleopatra is ready. Across the Ionian Sea in the Gulf of Actium, she and Mark Antony survey an armada of 230 warships, each designed to carry 300 oarsmen and 120 marines. Cleopatra has supplied a quarter of the ships, all provisions, and nearly 700 tons of silver to pay the troops.
Jesus!
Antony's large army stands on a flat strip of land guarding the
Obviously, these numbers could very well be inflated because this is thousands of years back, so the validity of the numbers here is very questionable.
narrow entrance to the Gulf. But what looked like a strong defensive position is turning into a year-long trap. In the marshes, malaria starts killing soldiers before battle even begins. Cleopatra is brutally practical. Don't fight a battle you can't win. Load the treasury, break the blockade, retreat to Egypt, and regroup. The war isn't over while resources remain. On September the 2nd, the fleets finally clash. Behind Antony's formation, Cleopatra commands a separate squadron of 60 ships loaded with the royal treasury and ready to run. As the afternoon wind rises and the battle turns against them, she's ready to carry out the plan they had agreed on. Cleopatra's ships surge forwards and break through Antony's line towards the open sea. Antony's flagship follows close behind. The remaining fleet attempts to break out as well, but Octavian captures and sinks most of them. He wins the battle and now only needs two things to win the war: Egypt's treasury to pay his troops and Cleopatra in chains.
He unfortunately never got the second one. He never got Cleopatra in
The
chains.
final face-off.
Because she killed herself.
For months, Cleopatra and Antony try to cut a deal with Octavian from Alexandria, but it all falls apart. Then, almost a year after the sea battle, Octavian's army reaches Alexandria. Cleopatra retreats into her mausoleum, locking herself in with her treasure and stacks of firewood. If Octavian tries to take Egypt's wealth, he will have to watch it burn. She hears shouting outside and braces herself. This is it. The end has arrived. But instead of
This is called
Octavian,
desperation.
Antony's servants burst
Pathetic.
in, carrying him inside. He thought she was dead and stabbed himself. Cleopatra catches him as he collapses. Her last powerful ally and the father of her children dies in her arms.
Good.
She barely has time for tears before Octavian's soldiers seize her and take her to the palace to face her nemesis. Octavian lets her think she'll be spared, but Cleopatra sees through it. She knows she won't survive. 16 years ago, her sister was dragged through Rome. This time, the shackles will bite into her own skin, the jeers ringing in her ears. "I will not be paraded in triumph," she says. Refusing to become a pawn, she chooses her own death. On August the 10th,
Yeah, she's a
30
bitch.
BCE, Cleopatra dies alongside 2 loyal handmaidens. Rumors begin.
The fact that they allowed for her to commit suicide is ridiculous. She was supposed to be paraded around as a trophy. Instead, they allowed her to do this. Shameful for the people who were guarding her. They should have kept a closer eye. She should have been completely alone and guarded 24/7 to make sure she can't do this.
In almost immediately. Poison, snakebite, or even murder on Octavian's orders. Her tomb has never been found, and none of Cleopatra's own words about her life remain. Everything we know of her story comes from Roman writers, the voices of those who defeated her. Rome's accounts focus on her beauty and seduction, but even in these, she emerges as a formidable strategist and stateswoman. She overcame many enemies, but the one who finally destroyed her was unafraid to fight cold and dirty. Octavian's propaganda turned Cleopatra into a foreign threat to overcome a crisis at home and
I mean, she
consolidate
was
his
a
power,
foreign
a
threat.
strategy that feels strikingly modern. But every attempt to erase her only made her more persistent. Cleopatra, the last queen of Egypt, is still its most famous ruler to this day.
I'd say the only reason why she's as famous as she is because of her connection to Rome. If it wasn't for that, she probably would have been forgotten just like everybody else. Let's be honest, when you think about this period of history, this time, you mostly think of Caesar, Octavian, and Mark Antony. Cleopatra? Most of the time, well, she's just kind of off to the side. She's not really, just from my own look into Roman history, Cleopatra's just not really that important. Merely another enemy who eventually got conquered and absorbed into the Roman Empire. The fact that the Roman records of her focus on seduction makes perfect sense. She literally seduced Caesar and then Mark Antony to remain a queen. She basically whored her way to the top. Which is quite common in history. Hell, even today. Yeah, the easiest ways to get to the top is having connections, money, or sleeping with people. Because that works too. But yeah, anyway, hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please consider subscribing and leaving a like. If you want to see more reactions, check out this video right here. And with that, I hope I'll see you in the next video.